Welcome to the Real Estate Fight Club, a podcast for agents where you'll witness a battle of opinions about topics affecting your real estate business. Now, always in your corner, here are your hosts, Jen Mertland and Monica Weekly.
Welcome to Real Estate Fight Club. What's up, Jen Mertland?
I've decided I'm never coming home.
Well, meaning you're back in the States now from your Colombia visit, correct?
I'm back in the States, but I'm not in our state.
Daddy, should I just send things home down to Florida to you?
I don't even need any of that stuff.
You don't, do you?
No.
You don't even care. You got what you got on your back. You're good.
Good to go.
I love it. All right, guys. Well, we're glad you're back. I'm glad you're back.
Thanks.
Glad you're safe and sound here in the States. Today, Jen and I, oh man, we got some stuff to talk about today. So I'm glad you guys are here. We're always glad you're here. Thanks for listening. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please be sure to subscribe and like and all the things that you do on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
But that way you'll hear about it when we put a new podcast out and you won't have to think, just do it. All right, guys, here we go. Today, Jen and I are going to duke it out over this question. Is wholesaling illegal?
Dumb question.
Or should it be illegal? Or what do we need to know about wholesaling?
No.
Jen, you're the expert in this space. So why don't you start us off?
The answer is simple. No.
It's not illegal.
It's not illegal. And it
Let's
shouldn't be
define
illegal.
it first. Tell us what wholesaling is.
So wholesaling is when you get a property under contract and then you sell that contract and your commission is the spread.
Give us an example. So you buy a property for $200,000.
Yep. You sell the contract.
Sell the contract for 200 or for something more?
You would sell it for more. And then the difference is what you would make.
Okay. So
you
if I
you charge like an assignment fee. So you're assigning the contract to them. You're changing the buyer.
Now, why does somebody do this? Why would they buy it from you and not from the source?
Because they didn't have access to the source.
They didn't know about it. Right. Okay. How do agents get access to things that are good wholesaling products?
Lead generation.
It all boils down.
If you know how to generate leads and you understand that there's many, many ways to sell a house and you take a consultative approach with the seller to find out what is their needs, what's best for them, and you have access to all the ways to sell a house, you can truly, truly, truly do what's best for the seller. But if you're only a one-trick pony, then is that really the best for the seller? Not always. Sometimes wholesaling makes sense. Here's the argument. People are like, well, it should always go on the market. Well, that's not true. Not every seller wants their house to go on the market.
We just did an episode on this.
Exactly. Not every seller wants the highest amount. Sometimes they want terms. So it's like, you can't just go plow into a meeting being like, this is the only way to do it. No, there's 1,000 ways to sell a house. Well, maybe not 1,000. How many ways are there to sell a house, do you think?
I think 2, the right way and the wrong way. So there you go. Listen, here's my question. I feel like, this podcast, my role is really more question asker because this is not my lane and I haven't done wholesaling. I know you have.
Yeah.
In my mind, that is more for like, investor type houses, not the traditional like subdivision home that we would probably be working. Am I wrong on that or what?
Yeah, you're wrong. Hey there, you liking this video? Go ahead and hit subscribe so you get all the latest videos because I can see why you would think that because that's traditionally more where it's used more.
Okay.
But there's like when I was wholesaling, we were wholesaling short sales. So a lot of short sales were happening in neighborhoods and things like that. And so we would negotiate with the bank to take less than what was owed on the property. And then we would tell the seller, look, here's what we can buy it for. And the only way that we can buy it for this is, one, if the bank agrees to it, and two, if I can resell it for a profit. And they were like, okay, great, because that worked for them. They just wanted it done. If they put it on the market, it's just like so much more drama. It just didn't have as much drama.
So I think I asked the question wrong. So I didn't mean that it was technically about a house that was in a subdivision. I meant more of a traditional sale where the seller is not underwater and it's not in foreclosure or heading that way, or
you can still do. So what if you, people's situations are different, right? Like wholesaling can work on any house. It just depends on what the seller wants. So a lot of people say you cannot be a real estate agent and be a wholesaler, because if you are, then you give up, there's like some fiduciary responsibility in there as an agent that you have that kind of doesn't work. But I don't think that's true, because as a fiduciary, I need to do what's best for I'm responsible for doing what's best for the client. As an agent who's also an investor who understands that there's multiple ways to sell a house, I can actually do what's best for the client better than only an agent that only knows one way to sell a house, because I have more tools in my tool belt, right? And so sometimes wholesaling it is better, but it just depends. Wholesaling can be less dramatic. You can have less people in your house. Some people care about that, especially since COVID. There's been people like, I don't want anybody in my house. But what they're giving up generally is price. But price is not always the main factor in selling a house. We can agree on that, right?
We determine that. So let's say you are talking to an average homeowner and they want out. They want the least amount of issues. They don't want to.
They want it fast.
They want fast, whatever. So you say, hey, I think you could get $200,000 for this house on the market. So you're going to pay, but they're going to pay 6% for sure. And usually expenses are around 10%, but let's say the 6% commission, because you're going to have your fee.
I always say it costs about 8% to sell a house. Cause after you once you get the taxes current and you pay the fees and some inspection items and things like that. So like around 8%-ish.
Okay. But they're still going to have those things, even if you wholesale it to somebody, right?
Except
for the commission part. You're going to still have tax prorations, or you'd take on the tax prorations?
It just depends.
Oh, you could set it up. Okay. So let's just say then that they would have $12,000 in commission expenses. So they'd be getting $188 ultimately for the house.
Okay.
So what you could say to them then in theory is, look, I'll give you 188 and I'll take on the risk that I think I can get more than 200, but you're going to get your 188 anyway. Like that's what you're saying is from a fiduciary standpoint, still a very responsible approach.
I think it is. You also have to disclose to them, like there needs to be a little bit more conversation about what that is, right? Because you're not technically representing them in that situation. You're not technically representing them as a real estate agent. You just are a real estate agent, right? So it's like, okay, there's a lot of ways to sell a house. One is we go on the market, and based on this data, we can agree, like you're looking at it too. And sometimes I'll do the CMA there with them so they can literally see my thought process of how we do the CMA. It looks like you'll get $200,000 for this house if we go on the market, right? And here's the reality. Here's your net sheet. We could also sell it to an investor. And here's the reality of that. And here's the net sheet for that. Here's the pros and cons, right? The pros and cons of everything. And then it's like, based on what you want, seller, like say you have a seller that doesn't care about the price. They just want something. They'd rather get it closed in under 30 days. They have a range that they're going to do, and either you wholesaling it or selling it to like an investor gets them that and gets done in their time frame. Now they've gotten their price and their terms, so they're happy. Or
how much wholesaling is going on right now, though? Because most people say, hey, let's take it to the market because I think we can crush it inside of a week.
But it still doesn't close.
It could, if it's cash. I guess it depends on the property.
It could. It really depends on the property. And it just depends on all the people involved, right? Like wholesaling is usually people that have equity in their property, like a substantial amount of equity. So maybe it's like a probate thing, or they inherited a house, or the house has like a lot of repairs. They have equity, but they don't have cash. Like there's all of these like different situations, or they're getting divorced and it's just like easier to sell. Like it's just easier to not have to go through the process of searching for a buyer, just, hooking up with an investor or something like that. I don't know. I can see why agents that are not investors have a mindset of it being gray or illegal, just because they don't understand.
Disclose so much.
You have to disclose so much anyway. As a real estate agent, we know a lot about, allegedly,
we're supposed to know a lot
about real estate. So we do have to disclose, and you should have the conversation. And if you view yourself as a consultant, that's happening, right? But but agents are having problems with disclosing. This is why the Department of Justice is coming after real estate agents, because they're not disclosing how the commission works. Well, you should always be doing that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So if I'm not the agent for them, but I am an agent, am I required to say to them, hey, here's what I'd like to offer you. I'd like to offer to purchase the home. Here's a contract. I'm not acting as your agent. Here's my intent. I'm going to go find somebody that's going to pay more than that, and I'm going to keep the difference as my commission.
Correct.
That's what I need to say in essence.
In essence, yeah.
And here's the problem that solves for you. And your option is to say no to that and go to the market and take your chances. And blah, blah, blah.
And either I can help you with that, or I can recommend agents, or you could talk to other agents or whatever. Like you have a lot of choices here, and this is your house, and you have to do what you feel is best. But here's pros and cons to everything. So let's discuss. And it's not like, now look, if you're an agent that sells a lot of houses, and you have all of these tools in your tool belt available, you are naturally going to be more consultative. If you are an agent that doesn't sell that many houses, your commission breath is going to be rank. You know what I mean? Like I can smell it from here. Yeah. Right, exactly. So like you truly have to authentically give a shit about that seller, and truly and authentically care like what is in their best interest. And more than they do theoretically, right? So like you have to help them and walk them through that process. But I just don't think that agents should automatically take this investment strategy out of play. I think they need to be open to it being the best.
Do you think that, and so you have to be able to deliver on the contract though, or does the contract state I'll deliver on it when I find the buyer?
Correct.
So
it's not a purchase contract, like an Ohio purchase contract.
Oh, it's a wholesaling contract of some sort. So, but that's not a guarantee for that homeowner.
It's not. Neither is putting it on the market.
Well, in this market, that would be more of a sure thing than
stuff still expires.
Right.
And it's not necessarily, right? I mean, I'm trying to think of
wholesaling is down right now compared to 6 years ago. Am I wrong?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I mean, I don't really go after those as much as we used to, right? Because I mean, from a real estate perspective, it's kind of a grind. Like you've got to it's like a lot of lead generation. Like you've got to know people. You've got to it's a lot of work. You know what I mean? Right. So like, it's easier to be a realtor.
Yeah, exactly. What if you find somebody to purchase it, but they have an agent who pays that?
You can do it however you want. So I've had it where I have represented wholesalers before, and then they pay me as their buyer agent.
Okay.
So it just depends on, see, that's the thing. Like you can really negotiate anything that you want. Like there's nothing that dictates that we have to do it in a specific way. Right? Like the MLS is technically put in place as an offer of compensation, which If you want me to jump on my soapbox, that was a terrible idea.
You do not. Nope, you stay down. You do not jump on that box. Nope.
But so you're like guaranteed to get paid, right? Sort of, as long as whatever. I don't know. I just think, I mean, you've never wholesaled before, but what do you think about, like, what was your initial reaction to it? Do you think it's illegal?
I think it is, I think it's dangerous when you're licensed because you know so much and there's room for leaving things out either conveniently or accidentally. And I think that doesn't leave the seller informed fully.
But then what about if you're selling like one of your investment properties, or what about if, like, I mean, if we take this approach of like, well, there's so much room for messing up. Oh my God, you would never do anything.
Yeah, but this is different than like in a fiduciary responsibility situation. You're advising just outside of the boundaries. And
but if you don't represent them,
I know, and that's confusing to them, I think.
Everything's confusing. It's confusing to the realtor. Just because it's confusing, I just don't think it's a good reason it's not a good reason not to do something. Get unconfused.
I don't disagree. I mean, I think to me, the obvious thing to me is that there are seasons for that. And this would not be a season for that. Because
I mean, maybe, maybe not. It really depends on what the seller wants though. You're saying because the market is so good, the seller should put the house on the market because they can get more money.
Because they can get the terms they want. Because they're going to have 7 offers, so they can get exactly what they want.
Okay.
And
yeah, well, and sometimes that works. And
right. I mean, there's no guarantees, and certainly we're shifting and
the shift.
Breath, everybody, take a fucking deep breath.
I feel like we need to take a small break.
Let's do that.
I'm tired. I need some coffee. All right. Let's hear a word from our sponsors. And when we return, we'll have the final smackdown. Hey, this is Jen Mertland and Monica Weekly coming at you from Real Estate Fight Club. And we have a very, very special offer from one of our partners, Ghost Poster.
Ghost Poster. I just happen to be the founder of Ghost Poster. That's all.
That's all.
That's all. And I've got a very special offer. If you are interested in posting more about real estate and earning and growing your referral base from Facebook, then go to the link below. Find my very special offer for just you, our Real Estate Fight Club listeners.
Oh yeah, baby.
Welcome back. Let's get back to the battle inside of the ring. Today we are duking it out over I don't know, wholesaling.
How many?
What you're calling it? I don't know.
How many people do you think are yelling at their phone right now?
I think most people are saying, I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot freaking
Yeah, but
pole.
most agents also won't do dual agency. So like, I think that there is a higher, like a different level of understanding. I think as real estate agents and in this shift that we are experiencing and will continue to experience, I think that we have got to continue to learn. And part of learning is different strategies on how to sell a house. Familiarize yourself with wholesaling. Familiarize yourself with how investors decide what to buy, return on investment, 1031 exchanges, what a possible lease could be, or Airbnb. Like, learn all of this stuff, or else you're just gonna be.
So in essence, instead of saying, excuse me.
Got you choked up there, Monica?
Choked up. I hope Sharon cuts that out. Instead of saying, I'll get paid and I'll go find you a buyer, because that's what you're doing in wholesaling. You're going to find a buyer. Well, isn't that your job as an agent? But instead you're saying, I'm going to do a little bit more legwork, so I'm going to try to make a little bit more money. Is that basically what you're saying?
I don't know. I mean,
because isn't it my job to go find a buyer?
I don't think you're doing necessarily more. I think it's just different. It's just another way to sell a house.
For more money. In theory.
For more money than it's under contract for.
For more money for me, the agent.
Maybe, maybe not. There's some deals that I made more and some I made less than if I were an agent.
Really?
It just depends.
Mm-hmm.
Now this one, my biggest one ever. I'll give you two.
Yeah, what was it?
I'll give you two.
Let's.
So there was this one, and this was a long time ago, like maybe 2009 or something like this. And it's in this like really gross part of town. And the property, I sold it. I want to say it was like $2,000. The property was $2,000. And my commit, like I earned, then my assignment fee was $3,000. The house was terrible. I couldn't believe anybody bought it, honestly. But the seller was so happy. He was like, nobody would buy this. I was like, I know, but we found somebody to pay $5,000. Like, it's great. Then the other time was a neighborhood. It was this great house, great neighborhood. And my assignment fee for that was $15,000, and it sold to an FHA buyer.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. And what's one where you just got hosed on it completely? Have you ever
was trying to think of ones that there have been, like, I want to say like two, maybe, that I just like could not sell, but it's like anything, you kind of know right away, like within the first week or something. And it's like, okay, this is not working. We need to do another direction. And at that time, I had partnered with a real estate agent, and been like, okay, then, we can put it on the market or do whatever. Like, what's our options here? Like, this didn't work. Why did it not work? Like, what happened? What did we think was going to happen and it didn't? Like, all of this stuff. Right. So it's like, then you just have to go to plan B.
Right. Do you more commonly wholesale single properties or like a portfolio of properties?
Single, me, but I mean, people do whatever. Here's the thing. I think that as agents, we need to generate leads for our business, right? And when you generate leads, have a conversation with the seller, figure out what is it that they really want, and then take all the ways to sell a house and match it with that. And then you control your income. It's the easiest way to control your income. But if you don't generate leads, then you're out.
Right. You got a job. You have a job. J-O-B. You got one job. You just forget that you have a job. You think you're a real estate agent.
No.
You have a job. Lead generation, baby.
Get it.
All right. I don't know. I think that, I think we've given folks something to think about today, which is always the intent. Yes. Why don't we leave this right here? Because I'm open to it. I just don't get it.
Well, you should listen to our tiebreaker.
I will. I will. Do you have a wholesaler coming on? ... Stay tuned. All right, guys. I think that's going to have to be the end of today's battle. I'm so grateful you were here. We just love having you. Thanks for liking, subscribing, following, do the things that keeps you connected to us and us connected with you, because that's what we like.
Yes. And we want to work with you. So if you would like to work with us, or you have an interest about EXP, give us a call or a text at 513-400-1691. Monica, have a super day.
You too, Jen. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. I am here with Curtis Cunningham, our tiebreaker. Hey, Curtis.
All right. Hello.
Thanks for being on again. So I was trying to, which one were you on before? Do you remember what episode?
It's been a little while. It was talking to how to get to basically a transaction a week. I think it's like 52 deals a year.
52 deals a year. Yeah, that was a good one. So if people didn't watch that, that's over on our YouTube channel. But you are with Wagner Auctioneering and Real Estate in Indiana. So we're pretty close.
Somewhat.
But your question for the tiebreaker is wholesaling illegal?
Is wholesaling illegal? And we're talking in an agent sphere, correct?
Yeah, as an agent. As an agent. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you actually posed this question on your Facebook page and got a lot of good responses and some discussion, I guess we can say.
It's very what's the word? Divisive. It's very Yeah.
It's either a hard yes or a hard no, usually.
Pretty much.
And so I'm going to say no.
Yes.
And congratulations. There's always the in-between gray zone, in my opinion. But my basic answer would be no. So I posed the question on your post: is it ethical or illegal? And I think it kind of depends on how an agent would do it.
Well, let's back up. What is wholesaling?
Okay, so in my opinion, the truest definition is, let's say you were looking to sell your home, and maybe you don't want to deal with all the listing aspects of the home, and so we negotiate a price. I would be kind of the intermediary,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I would go out and say, yes, that's the price we have a deal for. And then I would go out to find somebody that's willing to pay that higher price. And I'm kind of in the middle and reap the benefits of the in-between. That's my version.
Like in the state of Indiana, are you allowed to represent the transaction, or do you have to represent the buyer or the seller? Because in your example, you're not, it doesn't sound like you're representing either.
That's why it's gray. And you're going to get, a million different opinions
right.
you speak with. So to make it easier or more palatable, I would suggest agents, on top of disclosing everything you're doing to your buyer or your seller, to actually close on the property, to actually purchase the property.
Right.
Is that wholesaling? By definition, probably not.
No.
So
I see. So I think we need to have people, there's a lot of agents out there that do not wholesale and do not know what it is. And what they do know about it is wrong, I guess. So I think what you're saying is normally wholesaling is assigning the contract. So you have, as the wholesaler investor, you have the property under contract for a certain amount, and you are going to sell that contract for a fee. And now there's a new buyer that can buy it. But what you're saying is if the wholesaler closes on it at the price that they agreed to and then resells it, there's no problem.
That's what I said.
I agree.
Some Facebook comments didn't agree with us, I guess.
That's okay.
Everybody was cordial and nice about it. But again, there's always
so boring. Too many nice people on my Facebook page. We got to get some crazy people
get some real
on there.
Discussions going.
Yeah.
So again, there's always bad actors in whatever field you're in, including real estate. And so where that comes into play is if an agent goes out and says, look, your property's only worth $100,000. There's nobody going to pay over that. You know what? I'll buy it for 90. We'll call it a day. When in reality, it's worth 150.
Right. But that's
bad news.
There's also the other side of that are there agents that are saying, oh, your house is worth $350 and it's worth $200.
Well, they're buying the listing at that point. That's a whole nother discussion.
That is another discussion, but I'm just saying, like, there's also intent, right?
Yeah.
So in your opinion, we are in agreement. I think that many, many realtors would disagree with us and say that it's not right. You cannot be a real estate agent and a wholesaler. I disagree. I think you can. I don't know that you would represent somebody as a real estate agent, but I think you can be a realtor.
Correct.
What would be the reason that a seller would prefer to wholesale it rather than put it on the open market?
Yeah. So there's a ton of reasons we, get involved with. And a lot of times, money is not the main motivating factor to sell. It just isn't for some people. Ease of use is one of the big ones. Mm-hmm. So there is a process to list your home, and people may push back on that. Oh, it's so easy to sell a home now. Possibly, but there's a lot of trip ups along the way.
Right. And not every home is.
Yeah, exactly. So ease of use is a big one. If you can say, look, under these terms, if I were going to close on it myself, we can close in 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. I'm probably not going to do a full-blown inspection. Right. And it's not contingent upon financing. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to clean it up. And mm-hmm. I'll get the dumpster and, whatever.
And then you're done.
It's really, and you're done. You basically 2 weeks, you get a portion of your proceeds and you hand the keys over and you're done. I'm trying to think of some other scenarios where, they just don't want to get the home ready to put it on the market.
Right.
And they're willing to take a little less money because of that.
Mm-hmm. I think you're right. I think that is the primary. I mean, my whole point was there's a lot of ways to sell a house. And as real estate agents, we should understand them all and not judge, because every seller's situation is different. And so to be able to present the options in a non-judgmental way really fulfills our fiduciary of doing what's right by the client.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah. And I've been in situations, and, I'm an open book when it comes to my selling clients. And, I presented market research and the whole game plan and everything. I said, look, if you put it on the market, we should be about here.
Right.
This would be your net proceeds from that sale.
Here's what you have to do to get that.
Yeah. This is what you will have to do to get to that point. If you're willing to do that, let's go for it.
Mm-hmm.
If not, you can sell it down here and not have to worry anything about that stuff.
But here's your net proceeds for that. Like, what's more important to you?
And, even in our, real estate business, I think there was a podcast or something you had done before, you're not the one pulling the trash cans back and forth from your listing because your seller's out of town.
Right.
Now, is it worth it to you to service that client and pay somebody $20 to go do it? Yes, it is. And so this is a different scenario, but very similar vein. Somebody's willing to either pay or take a little less in net proceeds where they don't have to worry about some of this stuff.
Right.
And
it just depends.
This is not every situation either.
No. And I would argue it's not most situations.
Oh, no.
But I think that there's a misconception about wholesaling. So I just thought we'd bring it up. Why not?
Yeah, I like it. I like the conversation because not a lot of people know about it.
Right.
And like you said, there's a ton of misconceptions about it. And then there are some muddy waters in there when you're an agent and maybe building your own investment portfolio.
Yeah.
And, 99% of the time, the agent is on the up and up, and it's not a problem. It's just you hear about the ones that aren't.
Exactly. So. Well, that's always how it is. Every industry. Well, Curtis, if people do have a referral for you in Indiana, or they have a question for you, or they just want to, troll and heckle you.
Bring it on. Bring it on.
What is the best way to get a hold of you?
You can call or text my cell phone, and that's 765-717-2407. Or you can hit me up. Email is probably the next best thing. And that's Curtis, Curtis, at yourhoosierhome.com. If you don't know what that is or how to spell it, you're probably not from around here. That's fine.
Hey, from around these parts.
That's right. Hoosier is spelled Hoosier. So.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being on again. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, me too. It's fun.
See ya.
Bye.